Good morning, everyone. Today I want to explore a crucial yet sometimes controversial topic that lies at the intersection of two powerful forces: freedom of speech and sports. As athletes and fans, sports often reflect more than just performance. It mirrors societal values, conflicts, and challenges. But when does the line blur between an athlete's right to speak freely and the expectations placed upon them by leagues, teams, and even fans? At its core, freedom of speech is about the right to express oneself without fear of censorship or punishment, a principle enshrined in many democratic societies, such as the United States. In sports, this concept has sparked countless debates, especially when athletes use their platforms to address political, social, or personal issues. How much freedom do athletes actually have? How much should they have? And how does this play out in practice? To understand this better, let's dive into a case study that shocked the sports world: Colin Kaepernick and his protest during the US national anthem. In 2016, Colin Kaepernick, then a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, chose to take a knee during the US national anthem in protest of police brutality and racial injustice. Kaepernick's gesture was simple but powerful, and it immediately drew a firestorm of reactions. Some hailed him as a hero, using his platform for positive change. Others criticized him, arguing that he was disrespecting the flag, the military, and even the country itself. Kaepernick's actions sparked a nationwide debate, raising the question: what is the role of freedom of speech in sports? On one hand, his protest is a nonviolent expression of personal beliefs, something that, under the First Amendment, he had every right to do. On the other hand, the NFL is a private organization, and the league has rules and norms regarding what is deemed acceptable behavior on the field. What followed was a nuanced battle. Kaepernick ultimately found himself without a job in the NFL, a reality many believe was due to his protest rather than his performance on the field. The league, while initially distant, later acknowledged that the issue he highlighted were real and valid. But Kaepernick's absence from the NFL remains a controversial point that reflects the complicated relationship between sports, politics, and free speech. The Kaepernick example perfectly illustrates the tension between an athlete's right to free speech and the control that leagues and teams often exert over their players. It also raises important questions. Should athletes be allowed to use their platform to speak on societal issues, even if it alienates parts of the audience and disrupt the sports experience? Should leagues and teams have the power to discipline athletes for their expressions, especially if those expressions don't directly interfere with the sport? In Kaepernick's case, critics argue that the sports should remain apolitical, a neutral space where fans could escape from societal issues. But can sports ever truly be apolitical? Historically, sports have often been intertwined with politics. Think of the Black Power salute at the 1968 Olympics, or Muhammad Ali's protest against the Vietnam War, or even the nationalistic displays during the Olympics. Sports have always been a reflection of the world in which they exist, and athletes, especially those in large platforms, have always been compelled to speak out. Kaepernick's case isn't isolated. Athletes across the world have grappled with the question: how much freedom do they have to speak out on issues they care about, and at what cost? In many countries, freedom of speech is protected by law, but this protection doesn't necessarily extend into the private realm of professional sports. Leagues, sponsors, and teams often impose their own regulations, balancing their athletes' rights to express their beliefs against the commercial interests and brand image of the organization. For athletes, this raises a complex challenge. Do they stay silent to protect their career and endorsements? Or do they risk it all to speak out on what they believe is right? closing, the intersection of freedom of speech and sports is complex, constantly evolving, and highly relevant in today's global landscape. Colin Kaepernick's case highlighted the power of an athlete's voice, but is also revealed the potential costs of using that voice in a highly commercialized sports environment. Freedom of speech is a right, but in the world of sports, that is often negotiated, contested, and at times, constrained. As fans, athletes, and observers, it's vital for us to continue discussing these issues. Sports may seem like they exist in a bubble, but in reality, they reflect the very fabric of our society. Freedom of speech within that fabric should be valued, but also critically examined, so that we can better understand the roles of athletes as both competitors and voices of change. Thank you.